dancing on my own. I keep dancing on my own.
Yes, so Hairless here. This is our 30th Pentatonix reaction. How crazy is that? This is Dancing on My Own. The original song is by Robin, and in the title here of their video it says Robin cover. I didn't know the original song, so I gave it a little listen.
Somebody said you got a new friend.
It has a kind of Euro dance feel to it. I like to read through some of the comments on these original songs. You know, it's always nice to see other people's thoughts. And a lot of them reference a song by Callum Scott. Now, Robin's version has 84 million views on YouTube. Callum Scott's version, 526 million. I don't know Callum either, so I gave him a quick Google. Apparently he was on Britain's Got Talent and has done a cover of this song.
Somebody said you got a new friend.
His cover is much more popular than the original song. I of course listened to them both all the way through. Now why I find this interesting is because Pentatonix made this song as a transitionary song between the Avi era and the Matt era. I received many comments letting me know that. I thought the original song by Robin was a bit up-tempo for a song of this sentiment. Hearing Callum's cover, now that makes much more sense. Just to confirm this, I listened to the first 10 seconds of the Pentatonix cover. It's much more aligned with Callum's version. A much more melancholic feel for obvious reasons.
And I'm giving it my all, but I'm not the guy.
Also, Pentatonix are doing it in the same key as Callum. So let's find out what Pentatonix do here. From the tiny extract I heard though, it seems that they are covering Callum Scott's cover, but they're referencing the original song in the title, which is by Robin.
Somebody said you got a new friend. Does she love you better than I can? And there's a big black sky over my town. I know where you're at, I bet she's around. Oh, yeah, I know it's too bad, but I just gotta see it for myself. I'm in the corner watching you kiss her. I'm right over here. Why can't you see me? And I'm giving it my all, but I'm not the girl you're taking home. You're taking home. I keep dancing on my
Ooh, okay, there comes the beat. Let's pause there. We're about halfway through actually. Things have picked up a bit. We'll come back to that after we go over the analysis of what we've just heard, the first half. If you don't want to hear my analysis, go to the timestamp here. So the chord progressions overall are the same as the original, or as we're in the same key as Callum's version. They're the same as Callum's version exactly. They are C sharp, G sharp, F sharp. Those notes are outlined by Kevin's cello.
Somebody said you got a new friend.
Callum's version opens, it's very bare, piano and voice.
Somebody said
The standout note is here. That repeated G sharp. So there's always two lines being heard at any one point. The lower piano note, which is Kevin's cello, and this repeated note. Pentatonix's version does not have this, even though the melody itself is repeating that note for a little bit.
you got a new.
So immediately, one fewer part, it's a bit more of an empty feel. No, I'm not going to use the word empty. I actually think it's a richer sound because of the cello's timbre with its sustained notes. The cello's note will play and sound for as long as this is being bowed, but a piano's note will fade out with time. So here we do get a more constant sound. The only secondary line that we hear that isn't Kevin or the melody is Scott's little
Got a new friend.
Just a little something extra, but not much. It's delicate, which I'm sure is exactly the mood they're trying to capture here with this song. Then we get Mitch and Kirsty's entry. This is 2 more parts added, so the number of overall parts has doubled. This is significant, doubling, but they don't want to make it suddenly overbearing, suddenly twice as powerful or loud. This means they have to carefully consider how they enter. So this is what we hear.
There's a big black sky over my town.
To play all 4 parts on their entry, for the first 2 chords Mitch and Kirsty sing, we could have had this. But after these 2 chords, immediately Mitch and Kirsty go
Over my town.
They have these fluid oohs. So instead of these 2 chords I just played, that would be full chords. We get these 2 versions of the same chord. Mitch is singing just 1 note, which is the same note Scott is singing. So there are 4 parts sounding, cello, Scott, Kirsty, Mitch, but only 3 notes being heard. This is a simpler sound, more reserved, which means that you can grow more from it, and it highlights Mitch and Kirsty's fluid oohs. On their nice descent here, Mitch goes below that repeated note. And then when the next line comes in, he then moves back to that same note that he was holding before. So Mitch is doing basically an exact repeat of what he did before, except this time he's just starting a tiny bit lower briefly. Similarly, the oohs that follow are almost exactly the same. Again, just with a couple of extra notes. Nothing too stand out or in your face. They're keeping it quite toned down. So it's still calm, just with a tiny bit of extra-ness. But naturally, things are going to need to grow a bit. So what's the first thing they do? They change their vowel sound. It's no longer ooh, but now ah.
Yeah, I know it's too bad, but I
Volume is slowly increasing, pitch is rising. Another tiny contrast is when Mitch moves, but Kirsty stays on the same note.
too bad, but I just gotta
So we're building up to the chorus. Now we're in the refrain, the bit between the verse and the chorus. And this is the first time when all of them are now singing the lyrics, not including Kevin, of course.
but I just gotta see.
It's actually quite a harsh dissonance. To include Kevin's part, this is what we're hearing. Why the cello is a good instrument is the only addition to voices. As I've said in my previous reactions in which we've seen Kevin's cello, Radioactive, Papa Ute, both can be found in my Pentatonix playlist up here, is because the cello is often thought as the instrument that's most close in terms of timbre sound to the human voice. So naturally it can blend well with the voices and add this depth to the sound that's natural sounding. We transition then into the chorus after the refrain, and it's a very, very smooth transition. Scott does a wonderful job of immediately taking a supporting role, and that's important again because we get a dissonance on the word corner.
For myself, I'm in the corner.
The 2 Ks, Kirsty and Kevin, they have the same note. And then Mitch and Scott. We'll see how Mitch does this, and at the same time Scott does this. So together they sound like this. It's Scott's move that causes this clash.
I'm in the corner.
But Scott's move here is right, based on the chords underneath. It's just how the melody is in the original song, clashy by nature. And it appears a bit more discordant than in Callum Scott's version, due to the fact that this is all voices plus cello, as opposed to voices and piano.
I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her. I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her. Oh.
It's a cool, how do I say? I don't want to just say arrangement. I think it's perhaps better to say it's a cool idea for an arrangement. Here, for example, what we just heard. The 3 voices, they're very beautiful. They're harmonious, they're tonal, they're moving in a similar motion together downwards, with the same rhythms and the same vowel sounds, homophonically. But at the same time, the cello, the only non-voice, the odd one out, it's moving in an opposite direction. It's moving upwards with different rhythms equal, bum, bum, bum. And it's playing bare fifths. So larger intervals. If we're to relate this musical moment to the group's circumstance at the time, it's almost like this moment of uncertainty about and around their changing situation, and with the hesitation and perhaps agitation that would naturally come with such a situation. And then what do? Well, the cello immediately joins them. It's the same motion upwards, the same rhythms.
I'm right over here. Why can't you see me?
And then the three voices are in homophony, singing the same words, same rhythm, same time as each other. They're together, united again. Kind of like it's saying everything will be okay. I don't know, that's what stood out to me about that part. The idea of being apart and then coming together. Alright, a couple more things before we carry on. This then leads into Kirsty's solo. So we've had the full circle of solo lines now completed. Scott, Mitch, Kirsty, and I think it kind of attests to how well they're all able to take over leading parts from each other and fall back to a supporting part when they need.
And I'm giving it my all, but I'm not the girl you're taking home. You're taking home. I keep.
And things are getting a bit juicier now. We're getting much more rhythmic contrast between the parts. They're seeming a tiny bit more individual. We're getting more non-standard chord progressions. Well, that's where we got to, and then the beat came in, so things seem to liven up a bit. So let's carry on from here until the end.
I just wanna dance all night. And I'm all messed up, I'm so out of line. Stilettos and broken bottles, I'm spinning around in circles. I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her. And I'm right over here. Oh, why can't you see me? And I'm giving it my all, but I'm not the girl you're taking home. You're taking home. I keep dancing on my But you don't see me standing here. I just came to say goodbye. I'm in the corner watching you kiss her. And I'm giving it my all, but I'm not the girl you're taking home. You're taking home. I keep dancing on my own. I keep dancing on my own.
Ooh, that was a very nice chord towards the end there. We'll get to that in a bit though. Yeah, nice one. Like I said earlier, it's a cool idea for an arrangement. If you look at the lyrics of this song, it wouldn't seem like an obvious one to choose for a member who's leaving. But, you know, they're thinking outside the box, and I think it does really work well, especially with this arrangement. Well, let's go over the second half there. I've just watched this bit a couple of times. I don't know why, but it's making me giggle. Scott and Mitch. They're sat down. We all know that Scott loves to, nay, needs to, move his hands, but Mitch as well here.
All night.
They just feel the music and they need to express it through physical motion. No, it's completely normal. I don't know why, but at this moment in time, it's made me chuckle. Does anyone else get that? No, just me. Alright, so from where we carried on the obvious change, it's the addition of Kevin's beatbox. Naturally, things are more upbeat. Now we have a beat versus no beat previously. This means that the rhythmic element as a whole is now more prominent, and the two supporting vocal parts, Scott and Mitch, are contributing to this. There are many different examples of when this happens, so instead of me kind of pointing out each one, I'm going to play a section and I'm just going to count over the music, the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try and hear exactly when Scott and Mitch each enter a phrase, or when they stress certain parts of a phrase. If it comes on beat 1, or beat 2, or beat 4, or between beats 3 and 4. How long they hold on a certain note that they're singing for. Are they equal rhythms or not equal rhythms? I've just played this section a few times and there's a lot of variety in there. So feel free to play this back a few times as well and see what they do.
All night.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That all leads up to Mitch's ascent in pitch, which creates a more powerful feel, like a feeling of strength. And Kevin's cello further adds to this, because now it's starting to play more shorter notes. We did hear shorter notes before, and especially compared to the first half when there were no shorter notes really.
There's a big black sky over my town.
But now there are more shorter notes. Every time Kevin bows, that's its own rhythmic contribution, because the sound of the bow hitting the string, that makes a percussive sound. And now there are more of them, which means there are fewer moments of silence. So as well as the feeling of power, the rhythmic element is more important. Overall, stronger feel. We get to the refrain again, so the bit just before the chorus, and I like on the words "I'm spinning round," they choose to have every part static, not moving notes, except for the melody. I can't decide if it's supposed to be a bit contradictory. Spinning is movement, and they're being static, which is no movement. Or to kind of imitate spinning. Weirdly, when I imagine someone spinning, I kind of imagine a static noise. If that makes sense, that probably doesn't make sense. It makes sense in my head. This moves into the chorus now, and yeah, we get homophony again, so it's more powerful. This time Scott adds in a little riff for an extra bit of difference.
Oh, why can't you see me?
Again, nothing too crazy, but enough to give it a thicker texture, especially when combined with the beat we now have and the more frequent cello notes we have this time round. Speaking of more frequent cello notes, right after this, we get this in the cello.
And I'm giving it my...
A long note into a temporary silence. It's not that noticeable, but it has a surprisingly big effect on the arrangement as a whole. I feel that this is an arrangement where one of the biggest challenges might have been trying to keep things from repeating, from getting a bit samey. So they're needing to get some differences, some variety in there, whilst keeping a fairly samey overall feel. There's a fine line between the two, and I think they've got it spot on here. Alright, now this bit that I'm about to play, they're all MVPs, but especially Kirsty. Scott and Mitch both sing two notes to begin their phrase. So I'd kind of expect Kirsty to do the same naturally. Also, I'd naturally expect the same time interval between all three parts. So however long Mitch comes in after Scott, I'd expect Kirsty to do the same after Mitch. But the gap before she comes in is rhythmically diminished, so shorter, and she doesn't have the two notes. She just comes in straight on that one note. And nails it. What a clean tone. Quick question, is that Kevin exhaling? There, that... Anyway, here we get a little cello interlude. In Callum Scott's version of the song, there is an interlude there. But where there's the line that the cello's playing, we get this.
So far away, but still so near.
In Pentatonix's version, that line is replaced completely by the cello. They never sing those words. This might be obvious to most of you, but for anyone who doesn't know the song, those words are completely omitted. It's a nice touch by Pentatonix. That cello part would be Avi's part. After that, Scott then soars up, and the other two vocal parts, extremely fluid, constant movement.
But you don't see me standing here. I just came to say goodbye.
Constant harmonic change because of the movement, and there was a nice suspension just there.
To say goodbye.
The suspension is really driving home an extra bit of dissonance just before what follows, which is a unison line.
I'm in the corner watching you kiss her.
And then finally leading up to the end. Of the three vocal parts, I think it's nice that only the middle part is moving. That's kind of teasing what's to come, harmonically speaking. It moves up, then back down, and then all the parts move into this nice ending.
I keep dancing on my own.
Suitably Imogen Heap-esque. On the word dancing, there was this scrunch chord. And then they finish on unresolved ending. Well, there we are. Pentatonix Dancing on My Own, a transitionary piece between the Avi and the Matt era. I'm sure it would have been very, very emotional at the time for all the Pentaholics out there. Nice song, nice cover, completely different to the original Eurodance style, similar to the more famous cover of the song in Callum Scott's version, and of course the main nice touch being the cello replacing Avi. Well, let's leave that one there. Thank you to everyone who recommended this one, and as always, thank you all for watching. Would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you enjoy my content, want to support me, vote on future polls, join the community, you can do so by joining the Patreon or YouTube memberships linked below, and I will see you next time.